Back at it.
We're back at it. We're officially live. What's going on,
There
everyone?
we go. Turn off my background sounds here. Get locked in. What's going on,
Chill here
everybody?
for a little bit. Let a couple others hop on.
I like it.
I hear baby in the background.
Yeah. Is that what you? I could have swore I heard her. I was like, hopefully that didn't come up on the mic. You know, father of two was a father of one when we first started, man. A lot's changed. Right? It's great.
All right, those it looks like we have 3 on now. Those hopping on and joining us here as we hang out for a little bit to kick things off. Hashtag live below and let us know.
Drop it.
That way we can see who's watching.
I want to see who's showing up. Great to have everyone here.
See if I can see comments. One second here. I'm just going to pull up comments on my end.
Boom, boom.
All right. Let us know in the comments below if you're watching. We had 3 people on. I don't know who it is. I can't see through Restream here, but you are welcome to comment below. I got the live pulled up on Facebook to see those that don't jump on to Restream, but those that want us to see your comments directly here. If you just go to chat.restream.io/Facebook, that will allow us to see your comments on the live.
Perfect.
So bringing Justice back, this is actually our 3rd interview now in the group. Reason I wanted to bring him back here is like with us now, we actually just crossed a year of working together just a couple weeks ago. So in honor of that, in honor of the price of 6FA going up, in honor of the epic growth that Justice has been able to accomplish in this last year, I wanted to bring him in to provide some value to you guys on the journey that kind of has taken place over this past year as a whole. Talk a little bit about problems that he faced, not only early on, we just got started, but also problems that he encountered even as he was continuing to scale as we worked together, and solutions that we kind of put into place to help break past those and continue to unlock new levels of growth. So getting into things today here to kick things off. For those that don't know Justice, I'm going to let Justice do a brief intro of himself and kind of backstory from him, and we're going to dive into things from there.
Nice, man. Well, thanks for having me again, Blake. Number 3, like we were saying before,
Welcome,
I can't believe
man.
this many. Oh, this is awesome, man. But no, little backstory of myself. Started off as an affiliate marketer, really dived into the space, found out about the organic world and how that all revolves. Really kind of went head deep and really dove inside of that realm. Was able to get things moving on that side. Was able to hit my first 5-figure month just before me and Blake, but I had a lot of problems, as we're going to probably dive into here today. But really now I'm a lot more focused on helping affiliate marketers and coaches, and really just helping people with lead generation, offer creation, sales, and just trying to crush it. So, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm over here in Boston, Mass, just outside of there for those who know about the area a little bit. Team Celtics over here. But that's pretty much the background on my side, man. I was an accountant for a 9 to 5. That was my whole 9 to 5 grind I have my degree in accounting, and really, thank goodness, that's one of my biggest whys, honestly, pushing me, I feel like, every day, is to never have to go back to that. It's like, what can we do to keep this thing going up and up? So many people, especially from the world that I come from, have a lot of people, right, where you came from a corporate job, you came from wherever, they tell you that in reality, trying to do something else is foolish. You're going to lose your health insurance. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose that. Is it stable? Is it not? And having to fight all that there. So coming from that same adversity, that pushed me further. And obviously I'm big into music as well. I thought that was going to be my end all be all entrepreneurial journey there, but things decided to switch up when COVID came up. I got an EP, but you probably don't want to hear it. But that was really the hustle before. And yeah, when COVID hit, that's what really got me into this whole world. So feels like a lot has happened in such a short amount of time. I mean, COVID, I feel like, when I stopped going to work, going to the office, was like March 2020. And really, it was right around then when I kind of gave up music professionally. I working at as an audio engineer at a studio, and got into, it was really this, like, really spent like a couple months looking for something. I always had that drive to not want to work a 9 to 5 or wanted to be my own boss. And I just knew for a long time I was looking for what that thing is. Like, what's that thing going to be? And I was just fortunate, like a lot of people, you come into this space and you just see the sky is the freaking limit. So I was like, there's something to this affiliate marketing, internet marketing. Affiliate marketing was really my foot in the door. Now, obviously, I still focus heavily there, but just trying to continue to niche down and get the right message out there to the right people. And here we are today.
Love it, man. Appreciate you sharing all that. Like, honestly, like what you said there as a whole, like with this entire message today, for those watching, like look at this just to see what's possible. Like you've seen me share my journey and going from 0 to 100K my first year to then scaling past 500K. Now I want you to see an example of a direct client that I've worked with. This is now scaled to over 200K in just a year's time. And that's how much and how quickly things can change when you're on that correct path as a whole. And
Unbelievable.
like Justice mentioned in the beginning, like if you had to say, rewind back even a year and a half ago at this time, where would you have guessed your online business would have been a year and a half ago?
A year and a half ago. So we're talking February, back a little August. So yeah, I basically got my first ever like high ticket affiliate marketing course August 31st. So I probably was like a month or so before that. It's like a year and a half ago. And really, I was just I knew it was going to be a grind to match my income that I was making at my job. So that was really a year and a half ago. It's like, if I could at least get there, I didn't know how long it was going to take. So that to me, I was like, if I could at least get there, that's where I envisioned it. But I didn't see it happening for, I don't know how long, to be honest. And for me, I think I mentioned this probably before too. I always had that. I was working remotely. Like I kind of said in March of 2020, I started working remotely. And then at that point, I knew that at some point I was gonna have to go back into the office. So I think that in my mind, it was right around April 2021 that was like the floating date I potentially have to go back. So around that time, I kind of was thinking, hopefully I can at least get to where I can replace my income within the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months, basically at that point there. I didn't see all this coming. That's for dang sure.
You didn't see a multiple six-figure business underway.
Oh my goodness, man! Absolutely.
I think you always knew it would be there, but it's just a matter of the speed itself. Like
that's what really is. I didn't see it coming this fast. You're absolutely right.
And for you, like even like with the accounting job itself, like you probably had to, going into it, like as you continue to grow in accounting, you're going to continue to get more and more income on that end, and that's a really well-paying job. So much like you mentioned, I'm sure you got some people giving you flack early on saying like, why are you walking away from this? Why are you doing this? But you mentioned like you went into it with the mindset of like, I don't need to replace this full income right away. I just want to first get to this first stepping stone.
Absolutely. Right. Start with that first $1,000 day. Start with even before that, like getting my first sale period. Right. It's like, I remember the first $2.80 sale. It's like, even this was a stepping stone to get to where I wanted to get to. And then in reality, with having in mind where I want to get to by April 2021 at the time, also wanting the speed too. So I kind of feel like I bumped shoulders. Luckily, I gotten probably 2 mentors before I even jumped in with Blake. In reality, they kind of helped me getting the sales process down. At least my kind of, you can call it the OG or the original sales process. It got doubled down quite a bit when Blake and I connected, but kind of getting those initial pieces down. And then I just wanted to I just could feel the clock ticking. And so I know we connected real as like the first, it was like right around the first day of February last year. And with 2 months left, once again, I had just fresh off my first 10K month, which I did not see coming that fast in general, but I was going to have a lot of issues coming up in the future. And so that's really why I kind of hit the speed with another investment jumping over here with Blake. And yeah, just because I knew that I didn't just like you mentioned, I knew that things weren't going to come fast for one, unless I took action, and who knows how fast they could come. So I kind of want to do all I could to put it in my control, because there's only so much you obviously, especially in this space, there's a lot of, I hate to use the word luck, but you have to put yourself in the right situation over and over again for the right people and opportunities to come, and even opportunities coming in the form of the chance to hit your first $1,000 day, the chance to hit your first 3K month, 5K month. So I wanted to make sure I was putting myself in those right situations as early as possible, because I felt that clock ticking too.
Yeah, I want to see her go a little bit deeper too on the clock ticking part, but I think you brought up
Yeah.
just a important point there as a whole. Like in the beginning, when we're getting started with our online business, it's easy for us to be unsure what next steps we want to take when we don't have cash coming in itself, because we don't know, like Justice mentioned early on, he was trying to make an income online, but he didn't know quite which direction that would be. So I feel like when you're in that
Mm.
stage, it's very hard for you to say, okay, I'm going to make this investment and then I'm going to use that and jump into the next thing and continue to take those actions, because you're kind of at that unsure stage. Will this work or will this won't? Whereas I feel like you
Oh,
started to see some traction, and now it's like, man, I'm sure this can work. I've seen the power of it, and now I just want to propel things as quickly as I can.
that is such a good point there on that side, right? It's like in reality, it is tough to take that first jump in the first place. And then I think just to have the confidence again to take the next jumps continuing down that same path. I think I say that because for me it felt easy once I gained that confidence, I guess. Because yeah, like you mentioned, right? It's like from March till about August, I was floating around trying to figure out what that thing was. I probably found out what affiliate marketing was like in July, like 3-4 months after I kind of started this journey, but it still took time. It still took
Yeah.
time to really settle in on it. And luckily, with that first kind of course I got, I didn't have stellar results by any mean. I broke even pretty much how I saw it, where I was running ads there for some like off, some bootleg kind of affiliate products, but I at least made $300 and I lost 300, or I spent $300. So it was like a win there, and I think that it just showed me what was possible, and I wanted to go all in. Right, I've written some posts about this too. Right, it's like you can quit or you can give up, and I feel like the whole giving up is like you tried something for a month and then you said, I'm gonna try something different, right? It's like I want to, if anything, quit. I want to like give this thing its full all out and like really go in. It's like I just dropped at the time 2,500 into something, and it's like I don't want to just I don't want to just let this 1 month be the end all be all. I want to really push this thing to its limits, and that's what I feel like. That was when, even when I made that first $2,500 investment, that's merely when I decided, like, all right, we're in it, right? It's like I'm not
Same.
quitting until like at least a year, or like however long, almost like however long it takes, type of thing.
Same. Like it was the same exact way for me. And I feel like at the end of the day, like it all starts with that foundational belief. No matter what investment
Mm,
you make, no matter what you're doing in your online journey, even if that thing doesn't work out for you right away or doesn't work out for you at all, you have to know that it's only a stepping stone on your journey and that you will eventually get to your end goal as long as you keep putting yourself in a position to make that happen.
I believe it, and it all comes back to your 100%. You got to have that belief, that confidence, and you got to be able to like to visualize it, right? We talk about reading and affirmations and pieces like that. I always, it always baffles me how I got on my wall over here affirmations on my whiteboard. It's just crazy how watching these things come into reality. I can remember we jotted down goals for the especially the second half of Q of 2021 there, and it's just crazy. By the time 2021 was all done, every single one of them was done. It's like you have to visualize it, see it, and just keep attacking it, because if you don't, it's a guarantee it's not going to happen right at that point. Shoot.
Yep. I think the key along with that, which we're going to get into now, is once you set that vision and the target and you start working backwards in terms of what you need to do to bring that to life, you're going to need to be able to be open to changing course and changing path along the way. And I
Mm,
think this kind of leads to like you mentioning two things. You said you felt like time was ticking right before you decided to get started together. And you
yep.
also were kind of at the stage where you were starting to see a problem arise. Can you share more about those two things?
Definitely. So the time ticking and the problem arising, those kind of absolutely go hand in hand there. So it was right in December. You know, up to December, I had one high ticket sale in November. So $1,000 day there, and I think also in November I got one of my other high ticket sales refunded. So that was a bummer on that side, kind of kicked me back. In December, I finally got another high ticket sale right at the end, and in January, I hit that first 15K month there in January there, which was kind of felt like crazy out of nowhere. But um, I remember it was right. I think it was either right in the middle or the latter half of January. I had a chat with another mentor, and wasn't even a mentor. Someone I paid $500 to just to have a conversation with, because I really wanted their advice on what's next and what they kind of saw for next move for me. And really, they told me that if I kept going the path that I was going, I was going to be shooting myself in the foot, because I'm over here taking my whole grind was my whole sales process. And this is why, like I said before, things shifted up a lot when I started to connect with Blake there, and which was a month later in this story. And I was really heavily on cold DMs. I was real heavy on sales calls. And at the end of the day, I didn't really care because it was working. So I'm like, screw it. It's working. Like, let's keep this train moving here. And then I had in the conversation, basically the person said, it's Jacob. I'm not sure if people are familiar with Jacob in the audience here. He said, you got to make a decision here. And not you have to make a decision, but you have to realize that if you keep going this path, you're going to sell out February just like you did January. And then come March, you're not going to be able to make a single sale because you're going to be coaching all these people and never have a second to do a sales call. Maybe you'll squeeze one in. And at the time as well, I was not good at qualifying leads before I got them on the phone now. Like, thank goodness once again. And this all started when me and Blake and I connected here. In reality, that like all of these things I had going against me. And so then once I hear this situation, hear this breakdown of how I need to move forward, I go out there and start thinking, who can help me basically. And there was Blake knows. I talked to a couple of people. I won't name drop some other potential candidates. But that was the no-brainer option for me was basically reaching out to Blake. And I wasn't, man, life is fortunate, man. Life is fortunate. I'd already put down a deposit with one of the other coaches. And Blake put out some two-step post about some free workshop he was doing. I feel like at the time, it's like, I don't even know if I had interest in the workshop. I was like, let me just see what this guy's got going on. Before I know it, the conversation turns, we jump on a call, and I realize quickly, this is the guy I need to be moving forward with. So that's kind of that's really how that progressed on that end. But really, like I said, and it was all because, like I said, I had this diagnosis basically that these are all the major changes that need to happen because of all the things I said, not qualifying leads from getting on book calls, only having a process where I'm booking calls to get sales, only doing one-to-one coaching, and probably a couple other things that I'm not even missing, with those being like some of the key ones, the key pillars that needed fixing. And with that tied to the speed of this is January, I need to get this all situated by April. I'm looking good, but I'm always the type of person too. It's like, I'll never tell a client to quit their job just because they had their first 10K month. It's like, in reality, who knows your situation? You probably should get some kind of savings. I'm no financial advisor here, but it's like that wasn't enough for me. I needed to make sure, like, even like to fast forward next month, I became debt free the next month. It's like I had things I wanted to knock out before. And so once again, it's like, yeah, some people might hear I hit that first 15K month. It's like, why you need more help? Why you need this and that? It's because I want to get super clear on what I'm doing and not waste time and energy. It's like some people could say I could have just skipped over Blake, and then maybe 6 months later I would have been in a good spot. It's like I wanted to be in a good spot tomorrow. That was my mentality. So it's like I wanted to connect with somebody who could, maybe it wouldn't happen tomorrow, but let's start building towards it. So the next month, because April's here before I know it. What can I do to dial this stuff in as soon as possible? So yeah, that really
mindset shift for many. I think those watching, like, even if you're not at 15K a month, even if you're not at 10K a month, even if you're not at 5K a month, keep in mind that no matter what, any new level that you hit, there's always going to be new bottlenecks in your business that need to be repaired. And I feel like the quicker you grow, for Injustice instance, he went from 0 to his first 10, 15K month. And from there, like he at that stage, he couldn't see what was to come ahead. He wanted to continue to grow. He wanted to continue to bring on more clients, bring more money into his business. And it was the right thing to do at the time. It was exciting. Like, he was super pumped to get those new clients coming in. But then he, as he mentioned, realized that if he continues to do this, he's going to be stuck wearing all the hats and basically strapped thin to the point where he's not going to have time to do anything else but do one-to-one client calls and sales calls. And on those sales calls, he can't even enroll people because he has too many client calls to deal with.
No space in the calendar here, right? It's like, what the heck do I do? And this was, I think, something I learned from Jordan Belfort too. It's like an extreme situation, but he went to jail, obviously, for, if people know his story. And he always would say in some of the seminars I've heard from him is like, if only I would have slowed down and like handled like what we already had, instead of just like focusing on how can we bang out more sales, I probably could have avoided jail time. Like, who knows how true that statement is, but in general, I was like, he obviously is onto something here. And now, once again, it's like, learn from people who are where you want to be, right? And so that's why I was like, let me go ahead and not make mistakes on my own. It's like, yeah, you have to fail fast, which is why you're never going to progress if you don't. But it's like, fail fast, but also be smart about what you're doing, right? Fail fast, but also with guidance, right?
Yeah. And I dealt with the same thing before. It was about a year before that time where I was experiencing the same thing in my business, where I was growing quickly, but I couldn't see what was all the way in front of me and what was to come. And it was at that time where I started to run into some problems and I had to create solutions. And now that I had those solutions created and I kind of experienced that firsthand, as soon as I saw justice and kind of highlighted those two problems of low quality leads and taking a bunch of calls with leads that really didn't deserve the time to chat on all those calls itself. And then also not having an offer that's positioned correctly to allow you to be able to scale. And I think this is super common for most of the transition into coaching, because we start more than often with coaching by going one-to-one, which I firmly believe is a great place to start. But we can only take that one-to-one so far. At some point, our time is capped off. And if we abuse that, we're basically putting ourselves in a position to lock our calendar down and get to the point where we go from new monthly income highs back crashing down to 0 or 5K months.
Absolutely there, right? And it just it's I once again, I feel like I want to say this to the people out there who maybe were like in my mindset originally, where it's like, it's almost like, well, who cares if you have to take a lot of one-on-one calls? Like, I'll make it work. I'll make it work. I feel like that was always my mindset. I'll make it work. I'll make it work. I'll just squeeze it in. It's like you are using so much energy. And I see this that much more now. It's like, if I wanted to, I could easily step down and take a lot more calls than I do now. But I'm just all about protecting my energy. And once again, this all started a year ago that I started having this mindset shift. But I'm too protective of my energy. And in reality, if I want to draw in new clients and get new people in, I have to be on my A game when it comes to content and other areas of the business. It's not just about taking sales calls, right? And if that's what you want to rely your business on, it's like, sure. But in reality, if you want to have a sustainable business, we're not going to burn out. You need to have layers to it. And so if you want to be able to do all of the things, especially by yourself as you're getting going, having these kind of processes are going to make your life a heck of a lot easier getting into it. A heck of a lot easier.
100%. And I think we're going to talk more on that and kind of how to go from wearing all the hats to kind of pulling yourself out of that and starting to actually be the CEO of your business itself. But I think kind of circling back to the two core problems we talked on first, like when Justice and I first began, I kind of asked him questions around this and looked into his business. I could see those two areas. And to me, the first place to begin was to try to capitalize on, number one, the audience that he built, to start to validate this new offer that he was rolling into. So the first thing that we focused on was looking at his current offer. He was selling one-to-one. He was already capped out with too many one-to-one clients at the time. So we knew right then and there we needed to make a switch and a transition to an offer that would allow him to serve more people, impact more lives, while still having the time to do the things that he needed to do in his business and actually have a life outside of that. So for those like looking into this problem and looking for some insight as a whole, that's basically where we began. We started first by transitioning away from the one-to-one coaching offer to more of a scalable group model, and structuring that correctly to where he could serve more people and still be active in the components of his business that he needed to be. Once we started to draft out that new offer, as we went to bring it to market, the first step was starting to capitalize on the audience that he had built. And I see so many people out there on Facebook now, like, truly not doing this. And at the time, Justice couldn't see it either. And myself early on too, where what he was doing was working. Cold DMs to getting people booked on calls to taking as many calls as he could, presenting offers and making sales happen. In a numbers game sense, that will work every time. But as you continue to grow, at some point, Justice realized, you know what, I can't be taking this many calls anymore. I need to start cutting this down. So aside from changing his offer structure so he could have less client calls, the next focus was also stepping back from the amount of sales calls that he was taking, removing those unqualified calls and starting to actually let his content fuel his lead gen, and then adding in different components within the sales process to start bringing more qualified people to him.
Absolutely there. That was really a huge piece. And it's like, right, even, how do we become more efficient with our time? It, of course, as even we started working together even further and further down the road, started adding team members. But just like you said, what can we do before we even get there to protect our time more? Right? Exactly. Simple things like adding in an application process. And then even before that, getting actually dialed in with your content. The content was one of, I've laughed about this with Blake before in the past. With my content before, I was just putting out content to put out content. It's like, from the outside looking in, maybe it looked like I knew what I was doing, but in reality, it was just like, let's just make this look publicly appealing so that I can fool people enough to think that my content is good, and then let's get the real conversation going in Messenger and on the phone. But I wasn't using my content in order to pull people in, which now it's like, I mean, you can just look at the tiered system. I mean, on one side, you have the cold call that I was doing, which is like cold, super unqualified at the bottom. And then you got this other warm side over here where it's like, I'm starting off with a piece of content, already qualifying people who are raising their hands saying they want this thing from me, or even a direct more call to action. It's like, do you want help on something, or something along that lines? They go ahead and they raise their hand for that. Now all of a sudden I'm in a conversation with them where we're diving a little bit deeper. And now I'm finding out more and more before it's like, shoot, hey, you struggling? You promoting something? Let's jump on a call. It's like, no. Now I remember even Blake is told me, like, back at those times, he was like, sometimes people will say like, hey, that's awesome. You want to jump on a call? You're like, yo, wait a second. Like, let's make sure this is a good fit before we even talk about a call.
Protecting that time.
Protecting that time, right? And so now it's like, all right, let's make sure that actually I can help you. I want to help you, XYZ, right? And like actually that certain things align first. And then now maybe after that point, like I said, maybe you throw an application after that, right? I was very hesitant to even any kind of booking pages. It's like, I was so afraid of deterring leads. I was like, I'd rather convince them. Like, I don't want to show any signs that there might be something to buy or any signs that I might be offering help. Cause I want to catch them off guard and then pull them in. And it's like, it worked. But once again, it's like, what's sustainable for the long term? So as you can see, hopefully you get the picture. This left side, by the time we get on the phone, that's why I was able to have record months with closing. Blake knows my closing percentage before we met was easily below 20%. Easily. I feel like 20% is very generous. And then beyond that, I was able to hit 40%, 50%, even an 80% month in September, which was definitely a record high. But it's like the fact I was able to hit 40, 50% consistently closing calls was.
I think you switched from 20 to 40 within the first 30 days, just from quality change of people on the calls alone, without even really changing too much the sales process. Like we talked a little bit about a new framework. We made some tweaks to how you presented this new offer, but I feel like for the most part, it was just bringing higher quality people to you on those calls, which led to easier closing.
Absolutely. That and the whole idea of the second offer we created. That was why in March, we connected in February, March at my first 30K month. I remember even in that, I'd still probably a couple of one-to-ones because I was still like, once again, it's like this is why you got to just start believing, especially this is why you get guidance, because otherwise you're going to keep thinking that what you're doing is right for forever. And you're just going to keep doing it because you got no one really waking you up. And so I remember I would, like we would get on a coaching call, you and me one-on-one, and you're like, oh, nice. I was like, yeah, I just got a sale. And like, so what did you sell the one-to-one in the group? I was like, oh, the one-to-one. And it's like, I could almost tell it's like, yeah, that's good. But like, let's start protecting your time. Let's start getting these group things going here, right? Yeah. And so, it's just, once again, that's why it's so good to have the guidance here. But that's where the combination, and then realistically after that month, it was extremely heavily, a lot more on the new offer we created. But absolutely, the combination of qualifying and having this multiple offer kind of situation made March a standout month for me, and really my biggest month by far at the time.
So 30K month, 2 months in, I think even leading into that epic win, I think you just made a really good point as a whole in terms of like me nudging you after that initial sale. Because after our first call, we talked about content, capitalizing on your audience. You put out a new post that we talked about. You got some opportunities coming off that, and you made a sale right away within that same day. Exactly. And you came to me, share with me after, and I think I gave you a nudge saying like, oh, who was it? Was it the new offer, or was it the one-to-one offer? Why do you think at that time you gravitated still towards the previous offer, even though you were just kind of moving into a new thing?
I think that there's probably multiple layers. One being, I think the fear of I'm not giving enough support with a group. It's like I always love one-on-one coaching. It's like, well, let me go ahead and just do this because I feel like this is going to be the one I can definitely get them. I don't want to lose them. And I think that at the same time, it's the same mentality as I say this out loud when it comes to not wanting to like increase your prices. You're like, well, I'm just going to keep it at this price forever. Blake has been pushing me to increase the price of my program for a long time. Like throughout, it's increased in stages, but it's like I'm always initially hesitant because it's like, well, this is working. Let's just keep it pushing. Let's just keep it go. Keep the status quo alive there. So the fear of not having enough support is one of them because it's foreign territory. I'm not sure how it's going to work. So that was definitely one. You could say, and here's another one. I was technically getting more money. It's like more upfront money, but
capped money.
capped money, and if you break it down per hour, probably making less money. I don't know how, I mean, I'd have to work the numbers on it, but in reality, if you break it down per hour, probably making less money. With the new offer we created, it'll give me more flexibility, the ability to serve more people at once. And then obviously, as we continue to grow it, I was able to just continue, in really, I feel like in April, we dialed back and like helped out my back, not my back end, but like my course. And really, all right, like now March was a killer month. Now let's think about how we can go ahead and like it better serve these people. I better serve these people who are jumping in on this offer. I was already helping them, but I think that was one of my next hurdles I needed to overcome. And you can remember, I tried to do both for a while, and I was like, I just need to take like a week off and like just focus on this thing because nothing's getting done doing both here. But yeah, that was critical, man.
I think same goes for both on that. Honestly, like what you mentioned with when we made the transition from the one-to-one offer to the group offer, for those that, to kind of clarify what I meant there by capped, essentially what we meant is he was maybe making more on that one-to-one coaching sale, but at the same time, he can only take so many of those people in. So if he continued to take those people in, he's pretty much trapped in a one-to-one delivery hole where he can't bring in any more money into his business. So although it may be more right away that day, later on that month, it may lead to less because he can only do so much itself. In making that transition, like for Justice, he mentioned how early on when he switched from his current offer that he was selling to this new offer that we were working on, he didn't go and sell it right away that same day. Like he was still kind of leaning towards, should I sell one-to-one or should I sell this new group? And I was kind of nudging him at first to move towards trying to work this into his offer and start to get the initial signups in place. And the reason is, I feel like at the end of the day, is it's because it's new. Like we're going to gravitate towards what we know has worked for us in the past and what's comfortable. And that's just second nature. I think same goes for content as well, or calls. Like for you, you were booking calls before. And although we were implementing new things to bring you higher quality people, in your mind, you may say, I want to stick with the old thing because I was getting calls booked that way. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll let you inject in some there.
No, I was gonna say, and I can even think of that too, because for a while I think like I had started implementing some of the things, like even just adding an application before I actually got on the phone with someone. And I remember we had a call too where I was like, yeah, so like I put a lead magnet out there, I got a conversation booked, but I keep booking the calls, but nobody seems to buy from these lead magnet people I'm pulling in this way. And then you're like, either you asked or like somehow it came up, was like, are you using an application for those? I'm like, no, I don't want to scare them away. Like I'm just using the application for the other half of the crowd. And it's like, well, there you go. I mean, not like that's the end all be all, but like, come on now, implement that change. But just like you said, it's new. It's scary. Like I said, it's scary. It's the fear. I'm so comfortable with the old. It's like the new could work, but I already like the old. But then once again, that's like, so it's so easy to be blind to the truth because I was doing the old, but look what's happening, right? I'm still on the other half. I'm getting more qualified leads. On the half where I'm not doing the process, the new process that I'm trying to implement, things are slipping through the cracks. More time's being wasted. I'm kicking myself for the energy I'm losing in my day now that all of a sudden I'm starting to treasure my energy more and more now. So yeah, you can just see the compound effect.
100%. And I think too, when you don't have a mentor, someone to come to, and like you're doing the old ways we're talking about and not seeing some results with it, but noticing like it could be improved, more than often we're going to look into like the old ways problems. So maybe for Justice, he was going to tell himself, you know what, I need to go add friends from different groups. I need to do this. But in reality, he had members in his Facebook audience that were ready to buy today. It was just a matter of getting them into a conversation and then appropriately moving them to a call to where those opportunities could come to life, rather than looking to start from the bottom and find new people.
Oh, exactly there, man. We can all the time. I try and preach this too, right? It's like all the time we're just looking for how can we get more leads, new leads. It's like, yeah, that's going to be great too, but don't overlook what you got in your backyard right now. Right? Don't overlook what's inside your Facebook group or even just your friends list. I didn't even have a big Facebook group, right? Talk about it. I mean, I had like less than 200 people at the time that I had this 30K month in my Facebook group. It goes to show that even just from my profile, still so much.
You had people in there that had followed you, even following you during that time where you said the content you put out wasn't purposeful, like you were still showing up. And
exactly,
just goes to show, like, as we continue to grow, there's like, you work in phases. Like Justice mentioned early on, as he was booking calls, the first phase is just getting calls booked for those of you working to do the same thing. Like you want to bring opportunities in. But as you start getting opportunities in consistently and maybe having too many like Justice was, now it's time to focus more on quality instead of quantity. And we're always trying to ask ourselves as we continue to grow, what can we eliminate to simplify our focus towards what's going to make the biggest difference?
Absolutely. Focus on those income producing activities, like instead of just like trying to fix stuff that doesn't need to be fixed when there's other things that can genuinely save you time.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then like we kind of said, slowly after that came, I forget when I brought on my first, I brought on my first VA with a lot of help towards you too. Cause even I think I was in between choosing VAs and a virtual assistant. And once again, we were talking about this before, like think even implementing other things first before even getting the VA on board. Like there's some things that I could probably automate already that
Yeah.
it's like, I only had so many things that I thought I could give to her. It's like in reality, what can we have take care of itself before even bring in a third party? Like how can we, because once again, even with Zapier alone and some other, just having the right processes dialed in, we're talking about processes here at the end of the day, whether it's the sales process, the content process to book call, the process of you starting to build a team, eliminating complexity and really dialing in on what makes the most sense, to be efficient, to save the most so we can increase our profits, right? And that's what, once again, that was just an awesome thing there too, right? You were like, pump the brakes on trying to spend money on a VA just yet, or even don't like jump the gun on that. Like, let's wait a week or two or three, see what we can solve first, and then let's fill in those gaps from there. And then
Yeah.
slowly building that team up after that.
100%. I feel like even like to kind of give you guys a high level view of what those steps look like we went from launching this new offer we talked about, he filled up the initial spots on it, sold out that new offer. And now as he sold out this new group offer, there was a few stages next. Like he could continue just to sell and bring more and more people into this new offer of his and probably make a good chunk of money doing it right away. Or we could focus more on trying to clean up this new thing that we've made and make sure that it's really serving our clients at a high level, getting them results, and then bringing more people in. So that's kind of the path I feel like we took. You launched that new offer. We took a break from marketing and sales and kind of let you put your focus on delivery and getting some systems in place to start to make it more of a strong client experience for when they come in, making sure that they had a clear understanding of what they need to do in the program, and also making sure that you weren't having to do all the little intricate things when you made a sale, like getting them a form when they signed up, doing all these steps to get these new clients in. If we could create systems and automations around that, it would allow you to focus more on actually serving people rather than just doing tedious stuff in between.
Spot on. And making a list of these things, because it can be so easy. It's like, even as I'm saying it out loud right now, it's like, I'm like, I just need someone to help me do stuff. It's like, yeah, there's some high level things that we're thinking, but there's so many intricacies, like you're mentioning there, where it doesn't take much to solve them. And also, yeah, just being very, I don't know, just buckling down on what needs to be fixed. Once again, I just love how you kind of mentioned that, like you said, simple things like onboarding. It's like, well, I can just keep doing that myself. It's like, or, well, maybe there's something we can do to improve that process to maybe make it even better than just you doing it by yourself, where things can actually get done faster if you don't do it by yourself. Right. So absolutely there, man. I just love that you brought that point up.
Yeah, man. And for those watching as well, let's see, we still have 3, 4 on. Comment below if you guys have any questions on what we're chatting on today as well. We'll circle back here at the end in the final 10 minutes here soon to cover those.
Fire away.
But again, to make this most powerful to each and every one of you watching, no matter what stage you're in, I feel like keep in mind, like, honestly, as though 0 to 10K, it's a may seem like a harder milestone to hit. I feel like that's the easiest gap to hit. And once you get past 10K, that's when things start to become a little bit more complicated. You have more moving parts, more pieces that need to be in place. And for Justice, we first started by simplifying the foundation to allow him to actually be able to scale. And then as we continue to grow and work together over this entire last year, what we really did was take a look week after week of what we can remove, what we can simplify, and how we can get him to the point where he's not having to wear all of the hats in his business. Because everybody in this group below 10K a month, you're all wearing all the hats. You're putting up content, having conversations, presenting offers, serving clients. You got to do it all because you're a one-man show. But if you want to continue to grow to new heights and scale your business, you have to be willing to give things up and put the proper pieces in place along the way to make sure that those are still being fulfilled at the level that you would want to fulfill them at yourself. And that's really what we focused on since that initial group coaching launch, was just taking that and propelling it further while still removing Justice from the weeds of his business.
Piece by piece there, exactly. Like getting coaches besides myself inside, really elevating what my VA can do for me in pieces like that, removing me from part of the sales calls and messaging situations, really. And I still do sales calls right now, but I have people who are talking to leads before I even get on the phone with them who are part of my team. It's like, what can I do to really help myself to step back? And I do feel like it's a piece by piece, brick by brick, getting to that point. But just like we're saying before, I like that you just mentioned that as well there, Blake, how the whole 0 to 10, how that could sometimes be seen as the easiest, because you can get to 0 to 10 by just blitzing like I did in a way, right? It's like, shoot, I'll just burn until I get there. But you can't burn your way to 100K month, because that's just not going to happen. It's just not going to, you will burn out, and you will not make it past the second or third month. Exactly. So really and I think that the reason it all comes back to is like a little bit of that fear of the unknown. And it was very tough for me to take my hands off of a few things in the beginning, even certain things with my VA to get started. That's my first kind of hire I had. And you really just kind of have to learn to let go a bit, because it's like, yeah, there's a chance that maybe no one will do it as good of a job as you. Sometimes there's a chance that people will do a better job than you. Like myself, I have a solid personality, I like to think, but I think that does well for me on sales calls. But I'm not the best salesman ever out there by any means, right? There are people who are a lot better than me at sales. And so it's like, maybe it comes back to getting the right people around you and just also being selective. Like I definitely took time to get some of the other coaches on board. And then it's like, really just make sure you're being diligent with who you're getting on it. Not everyone's going to work out. Like there's plenty of people you have to fire and hire someone new. But being able to take that chance, just like we mentioned before, me believing that this group offer is a strong way for me to take it, instead of capping myself out with just one-to-one for the rest of my life, right? Me going ahead and trusting someone else to do certain tasks in my business, run certain operations in my business, and take me out of that, trusting that they can do a good enough job, a competent job, to keep the business going, so that in reality, like I mentioned before, I have more energy for other parts of the business that can make me more money down the line, right? So we get so caught up on the making money right now, doing this one task. Let's move beyond that and think, what's like the core role that you need to be rolling in your business to get to where you want to get to. And like whatever those key elements are, because there's a chances are that since you're the man or woman who's wearing all the hats right now, down the line, if you want to scale, you can't be wearing all of those hats. So which hats are you going to focus on? Which hat, and don't even make it a decision based off of, like, you can make a decision based off of what you love, but also make a decision based off of what's actually going to be beneficial. Like maybe you probably like realistically a bunch of stuff that you're doing inside of your business, but you don't need to be doing all of them. And that was really tough for me to let go. Really tough for me to let go in the beginning.
I think it's really the same goes, like even being in the beginning stage, making those investments like we talked about early on, whether it's you being at 30K looking to hire new members of your team and give up roles that you normally fulfill yourself, or it's hiring a new mentor to solve this problem that you feel is coming in your business. At the end of the day, it's still you looking into where you're at right now and knowing something needs to change and putting your trust in that mentor or in that team member that you brought on the team to help repair that and get to a better spot. And it comes down to that belief and trust.
Absolutely there. Absolutely. And belief and it's just awesome what can happen. Once again, it cannot work out, but it's awesome when it does work out. And then it's like, it's like you got someone to hold on to. I think of even, I know Blake feels the same way, I'm sure, about even like we have a mindset coach too. And it's like, I am not the best mindset coach out there. My mindset is like, let's freaking go. Let's dial it in. Let's do what works and just do it over and over again. But we have bad days. And like, I'm not the best at interacting with people and getting them through some of these like more difficult conversations in that realm of things. And like, so why not have someone else who's a part of your team, a part of your army, come in and help them out in that situation? That's just one example of many, right? So yeah, it's just, there's so many benefits that can outweigh it there. So
that's the beauty too of scaling your business too. As you continue to grow, although there's more responsibilities and more moving parts, the goal is to get to the point where you're getting to where Justice is at now, where you're starting to put your energy towards the things that light you up the most. In the beginning, you're forced to do things that may not light you up to get past a certain point. But as you continue to grow, it's really more about putting your energy towards the most high impact tasks and things that you can do in your business that you enjoy, that also leads to the best impact and the greatest impact as a whole.
Boom, right? That double whammy, exactly. What you enjoy and what's going to lead to the greatest impact. You start leaning in on that once you get to this point, it's going to work wonders for you. So
to kind of recap high level quick here, like Justice, if we go back to the beginning, went from just over 10K, 15K to now generating over $225,000, almost $250,000 in his business in 12 months time since the beginning. Goes to show the power of how quickly things can change for those watching.
While working a 9-to-5 job for like the first 6 months of 2021 over there, it's, there's there's no limits. It goes to show, and that's why we all got into this industry. I feel like, because there truly are no limits. Like, there are people who are miles past me and even below me. It's like, it's just crazy what can be accomplished here. So just, I don't know, just see that and soak it in as inspiration. If anything, don't let, the fact that you're not where you want to be right now slow you down by any means. Let that jack you up. I think that's what I always was seeing it as, right? There's people who, and Blake and I can absolutely attest to this. There are people who are probably above both of us who are no longer doing this anymore for whatever reason. It's like, this is also a high turnover industry because, well, who knows, for a variety of reasons, mindset, other life things that happen that go on that force them to quit. But just keep pushing.
Could be not being open to change, like we talked about with the offer,
Not
where
being,
you could have been capped off and said, you know what, screw this, I got no time, I'm done.
Come on, exactly, right? Because you weren't willing to shift on a few things early on. The stubbornness, a lot of us are stubborn beings, right? It's like you gotta push past that, especially as an entrepreneur. And then once again, a lot of us come from different cultures of the 9-to-5 workplace or wherever it may be, where you're forced to think a certain way, and you gotta shred that. Parts of it, I think. Yeah.
That's what I appreciate. I remember even too, the first 3-4 months together when you were still on your 9-to-5, like I was same way with me. First 5 months after I hit my first 10K month, I was in my 9-to-5 for the first couple months after that. So I knew what it felt like. I was there before, and I knew it was only going to be a couple months time until we're out of it. And then you open up to a full calendar to do whatever you want that day, as long as you're not strapped with calls.
It's all you're not right. It's like,
which we changed.
Which we changed. And that goes to show as well, because some people would say, oh, well, now you got a ton of time. Like, just go jump back and hopping on calls left and right. It's like, man, now I have more time. It's like, I still want to spend limited energy on things that aren't necessary. Right. I almost see it as more important now. It's like, I want to, before, as an example, I used to, for a while after I quit my job, I was taking calls at 7:30 in the morning. And it's like, why am I doing this to myself? It messes up my whole morning flow when I was taking up a 7:30 in the morning call. Now all of a sudden I'm too tired to write that post or do a certain task, and before I know it, it's noon, and then other stuff pops up, and it's like, I'm even more mindful than I was before. It's because of the whole type of different mindset. Before, it's like you can hustle your way to 10K month, but when it gets beyond that, that hustle is not the way to go. It's just not.
100%. Our brain is going to program us to tell us to do things that we feel we should do based on what we did in the past. So for those of you watching here today, like, look into your business today. Ask yourself, like, what do I really need right now to win going forward? Not just today, tomorrow, but for months ahead, to getting towards the vision that I want to bring to life. And I think really what you need to do, just like Justice did when we first started working together, is be honest with yourself. Don't try to just say, you know what, I'll make this small tweak and then I'll get to where I want to go. Justice knew he needed to change. He was honest with himself, and he put his guard down and became coachable to get that change in place. And this just goes to show the power of what can come from that.
Be vulnerable. Be vulnerable in all aspects. Did I see some questions roll through over there?
I think we did have some questions come in.
I thought something about a group size. Man?
Tank asked, question for Justice. When you had a group of less than 200 members, and just before you hit that first big month, did you have any funnels, websites set up already that you were pushing people to?
Do I have any funnels or website? So before, do I have any funnels or websites I was pushing people to? I had a checkout page. I think that was the only, for a long time, really, I had a checkout page. I have a website now, justicesev.com. It's nothing crazy, I'll tell you that much. So even as I read that now, part of me is thinking, like, shoot, do I even have a website now? It's kind of like it's like my group is my website. My profile is my website. So yeah, did I have any funnels or websites set up? Definitely no funnels, like in the sense of, where I'm sending people to this like whole automated system. It's like more, I still want to embrace the personal touch. It's just me being smarter with my time about it and potentially adding another team member in the mix on that too there. So when I had less than 200 members, I definitely did not have any funnel websites set up that I was pushing people to. Like I also wasn't really much the type of person to send someone to a website before they bought. I was more the type of person where let's get on the phone, have a conversation, assuming you're a good fit, especially during the March, April timeframe. I was starting to dial that in. Assuming you're a good fit, let's get on the phone, see if this makes sense, and then I'll go ahead and I'll send you to my checkout page. That's got all the details there. I didn't really even have I never had I think I have a sales page now. I didn't have a sales page for a long time. So yeah, really just a checkout page that really highlighted my offer, really highlighted the bonuses, the benefits of my offer. And once again, for those of you who are maybe making something like that for yourself, just think of how your favorite marketers making their checkout page. They're blowing the crap out of it up, right? So it's like, just you're going to get this, and this. Don't underestimate what you can do to help somebody, what you have to offer to help somebody. Just because you feel like it's something that's obvious. Oh, I also have this content framework too, but it's like that just comes with the whole package. Like I'm helping you with branding, so I don't need to put that in there. It's like, no, like man, let them know, let them know the whole package of what you can help them with, so that they get the full picture. And in reality, I was really not leaning on that. If I'm being blunt too, especially at that time, probably still heavily now. I don't want someone to see my checkout page until they're buying. It's like, all right, you ready to buy? Here's the link. And it's like, maybe you'll see some of the side stuff. But I'd rather you just like, let's talk about it right now. Like we're on the phone, especially because once again, even now, we still focus on closing. I say we as in my business, we focus on closing on the phone. So we're going to have a chance to have a conversation about the product, about the offer. So yeah, I really want to handle that on the phone there. So yeah, that's my approach there.
It's a good question too. And honestly, for everyone watching today too, like we've talked about some advanced stuff, higher up stuff as you get past 15K, 20K, 25K plus a month. To recap and remind those that are below 10K, really your focus should be as simplified as possible. Marketing and sales. That's really what you're focusing on. Content, conversations, and enrolling people into your program. Anything aside from that, the fancy stuff, pages, funnels, ads, all that stuff, that's best saved for post 10K months when you can start adding those layers on itself. But more than anything, to put yourself in a position to win, simplify the focus if you're below 10K.
Oh, absolutely there, right? I feel like my first like funnel I ever made that I actually had success with, I did like a Cyber Monday sale, and that had some pretty good success because like I had like a one-time upsell and stuff like that. But that was a one-off thing. So yeah, in reality, I definitely steered clear of that. And even to this day, right? It's like, I know simple works there. I'm assuming I see a thanks response. I'm not sure if that's the person who answered the question.
It is. It's thanks from Tank. Yeah, he said thanks for the response.
Perfect.
Kind of just mentioned that it was great to basically 90% of the people that he speaks to has questions or issues with stuff around funnels.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Take the other side, right? I think that it's so appealing, the whole like, oh, I can just do stuff automated. And that's where even to me right now, yeah, I've had layers and stuff in other areas, but like that's one thing I've definitely tried to still hold on to is that personal touch. I still want, even if it's not me talking to someone, I still want to have that personal touch instead of having complete automation. Like I had someone get on the call with me the other day and they're like, yeah, so like, was that messenger conversation like automated? I was like, no, it's not automated. Maybe it feels a little robotic. Sorry about that. But like, I just need to ask certain questions and like, let's get to this to really see if we're a good fit here before I get on. So yeah, that's 100% my mentality. Try and keep it personal, because I think in high ticket sales, the more you can add that aspect, the better.
100%. When you're selling stuff 2K, 3K plus, like to automate all of it, it's not going to be effective. Like there has to be personal touch within that, and you have to also make sure that they're a good fit to even extend that offer itself. So I think personal touch is super important. And oftentimes, if we try to layer on the fancy stuff too soon, we end up getting, like Tank mentioned, stuck in the weeds trying to troubleshoot and solve stuff, which is essentially just pulling our focus away from marketing and sales itself.
Oh, right. Spot on, man. Marketing and sales. If there's anything you need to be focused on in your business right now, it's marketing and sales, right? Spot on, man.
100%. Well, we're at, looks like right in the hour now. So I think we covered. If any other final questions here before we wrap up, feel free to drop them in the comments and let me know below.
Yeah, and even to throw this out there once again, thank you so much for having me, Blake. I feel like once again, you're kind of asked like what successes I've had, like since we started working in pieces like that. I feel like just one of, obviously you've listed some big ones for me. I feel like in reality, just like the biggest one is just the fact that I've been able to run like a healthy business, right? Like a healthy business that has been consistent. It's like that is like that's like just feels like now that once it's there, just feels like one of the best blessings you can ask for. So yeah, like that to me, I was just kind of thinking about that, and yeah, I just a huge thanks for being a major part to how that rolled out in the beginning. Once again, like we talked about here today, for those who heard, it's like how it all started is really how that was a strong foundation. It's a strong foundation, and then from there, I've just been building off of it ever since. So yeah, but it all kind of can't stem from that. So much love,
Appreciate you
brother.
sharing that,
Much love.
man. Likewise,
That's
man. And I even remember you mentioned in your video the other day, like just the fact that you built a business that you're proud of, and that makes me super happy to hear and see, because I think that's the most important thing of it all. If you're not running a business that you actually enjoy running, what the hell is the point of running a business? I think it really comes down to the impact that you're having on others, the fact that you're fulfilled and proud of what you're building, and also being able to spend more time with your family and loved ones, which sounds like you've been able to do that as well with the changes that have taken place over the last year.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, little things like hopefully a moral of the story for a lot of you guys here is also comes back to protecting your time. It's like exactly. I have more time now that I don't work a 9 to 5. That doesn't mean I want to just fill up that extra time with business activities just because I can. It's like it almost like I want to come to my desk like feeling ready, right? That's why now I try to have breakfast with my family before I really dive too deep into work, and just really make sure that when I sit down, it's very, very driven. Obviously, Blake already knows he's gonna be plenty of good time management tips. I got my son Sama app over here. I still rock every day. It's like you gotta be productive with your day, because otherwise you just lose time. You just lose time faster than you can imagine.
Amen to that. You got to be selective with your time. I think that's the key of today's live itself. So to wrap up here at the end of the hour, to be respectful of both our times here, again, Justice, thanks for joining us today. Those who are watching, thanks for coming
Definitely.
to join us today on the live. If you got value from this breakdown discussion and live training itself, drop a hashtag value below and let me know. And again, for those that are interested in finding out if 6FA is a good fit for you, our flagship coaching program where it all began with Justice, comment 6FA below. The price of that program is going up here at the end of February in less than 7 days. So time is ticking on that with the price going up. And we look forward to hopefully serving 3 more of you here in this group before that takes place. With that said, thanks for everyone that jumped on. Appreciate the value comments. Had an awesome time with Justice and with those of you that hung out with us in today's live. And we will close out on that note.
Awesome. Love the values I'm seeing. Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Justice, appreciate you as always, man. Pleasure. And we will chat soon.